Welcome back, people of Earth and elsewhere, to Spam Crackers continues to pursue Joestars in a fan-made dating simulator. We've gotten 2 good endings so far, debating whether or not there's a 3rd one, and now trying to see about a 4th one. It's time to, It's time to see how far I can get with my teacher now. I'll be back. We're just gonna skip ahead to when I get to the point because I'm not good at actually saving my progress. I've gotta go through most of this all over again. See you in a minute. Okay, here we go. What route you get really depends on what seat you sit in. Actually, there might be a divergence between Jonathan and JoJo's, but we'll see. Everyone looks at us when we enter the room. Oh, Mr. Jonathan, it's nice to meet you. Positive attitude, I appreciate that. I am Leslie. Ready to get the year over with. Recorded meeting, everyone. Bow politely. Lovely introduction. 2 seats. Choose which one. Is it too straightforward to just sit in the front? There's an open seat right in the front of the chalkboard, so I plop my bag down and slide into the chair. The teacher seems delighted at my choice. Oh, look! Somebody actually wants to sit in the front of the class. You must be eager to learn. Alright, let's dive right in. Seems exactly the curriculum. And I've actually heard the exact lesson that he's giving. At this pace, it'll be another few days before he catches up with the material from my old class. That means I can just chill for school the next week. Chill for the next school week, which is more than fine by me. Usually in a situation like this, I would take the opportunity to daydream and think about what I'm gonna do after school, but being in front of the class makes that a little hard. Besides, Jonathan is a lot of fun to watch. Already. And the dog drawn on the chalkboard. This is too cute. It's clear he loves his job. He talks animatedly, often using his hands to explain and put emphasis on his words. I can't see the rest of the class from my seat, but I don't hear any of the usual whispering and nonsense that usually accompanies a lengthy lesson. Kids even raise their hands to ask questions, to which Jonathan happily elaborates and explains. It seems that even delinquents aren't immune to Jonathan's passion and charisma. Good. I wonder why he chose to teach at this school. I mean, he's obviously young, but surely with his seemingly natural skill at the job, he could have gotten a job anywhere he wanted. I could easily picture him giving the same lecture at a high-end private academy. Well, let's talk about who runs this school. Maybe he was one of those bleeding heart types that just wanted to reform the troubled youth. That could be it. And I don't want to think that the story goes that deep, but yeah, I can believe that. It could be as simple as that. Jonathan's a good guy. Second best JoJo, at least in this game. Class is over. Time certainly does fly. I'll see you all in 30 minutes. Class waits for Jonathan's dismissal to get up. It's clear that they really respect him. I get up too, uncertain of what to do. Lunch on the first day of school is always so stressful. Maybe Josuke will let me sit with him. Woohoo. Okay, so we're gonna start saving slot 3 for this one. I mean, would having lunch with Josuke ruin my opportunities with Jonathan? I mean, there's no problem with talking to the teacher. I decide it's a safe bet to get friendly with Mr. Jonathan. He seems nice, and being on good terms with the teacher is always a smart move. It really is, especially when you've got a good teacher. I pretend to rifle through my backpack as the chattering students slowly filter out of the room. Jackwagon! Hey Leslie, wanna grab a bite with us? I actually have a few things I need to discuss with Mr. Jonathan. Oh, you mean that I could totally just have lunch with If you told me that Kakyoin was with you, I totally would have just gone with Josuke. He shrugs it off with a smile. Sure thing, see you around, Leslie. I briefly debate changing my mind and following them, but I'm actually really interested in talking to Jonathan. The classroom is cleared out, and I'm left alone with the hulking giant, who's preoccupied with sorting papers at his desk. Again, but calling him by his first name is kind of weird already. Even though that's what he wants to be called, you should at least use Mr. in front of it. We're not that friendly yet. I'm not sure he realizes I'm still here. Stand back and look, but I'll call out to him. I don't want to be awkward. Mr. Jonathan. Oh, Leslie, you're still here. I hope you aren't planning on skipping lunch. It's more important to fuel your body and mind. I could say the same thing to you. That's a fair point, but I do have something for lunch. He goes around to his desk and opens a drawer. After a little bit of rummaging, he pulls out a granola bar victoriously. A meal for champions. He laughs. A champion who has a lot of papers to grade. I usually have a bigger lunch, but I've been so busy lately. He pats his stomach good-naturedly. I guess it's for the best. I always feel lazy after a big meal. I practically fall asleep on my feet trying to teach after lunch. The thought of a full, drowsy Mr. Jonathan is almost unbearably adorable. Here. He tosses me the granola bar lightly, and I catch it. He reaches back into his desk and pulls out another one before tearing into the wrapper and taking a big, crunchy bite. He looks at me expectantly, so I take a bite too. Mr. Jonathan smiles at me happily. Are you enjoying school so far? I swallow my mouthful to answer. I've only been to one class! It's not too bad. I'm sure it's not what you're used to, but rest assured, UNQ's reputation is all bark and no bite. We're just like any other school. But the principal's a vampire. Our students are just a little more colorful. This is a JoJo game, of course they're colorful. He takes another big bite, and I do the same. After we chew and swallow, Jonathan leans against his desk. I'm glad you've got a good attitude about the school. You have to have a good balance of guts and open-mindedness to adjust to new things. Is that a compliment? For some reason, it makes me feel a little warm. I take another crunchy bite of my granola bar, so I don't have to flounder with a response. Jonathan pops the rest in his mouth and wipes his hands on his pants. Not gentlemanly at all. I've got to get the rest of these tests graded, but you're welcome to stay if you'd like. I'm not much in terms of company, though. I don't want to be a bother. The thought of spending the rest of my lunchtime with Jonathan seems like a nice thought. Should I stay or should I go? I'll go. I wanted to get close to Jonathan, but not too close. Being a teacher's pet is social suicide in a normal school. I can't imagine what it'd be like at a school full of authority-rebelling delinquents. I think I'll give the grounds another once-over, just to get familiar with it. Mr. Jonathan nods and takes a seat at his desk, a stack of papers at the ready in front of him. A very wise use of time. Just don't be late. I nod and grab my bag. The hallway's already empty. Going into the cafeteria now will draw a lot of attention, and I might not even find a spot to sit. I'm also not fond of the thought of roaming the school and running into a ruffian. Or the principal! I guess I'll just hang out in the bathroom stall for the next 25 minutes. Safe. Mr. Jonathan has been mid-sentence as the bell peals through the classroom. He cuts himself off, looking a little baffled that the time has flown by once again. Looks like that's all the time we have today. As everyone gets up and starts filing from the room in pairs and groups, I grab my own bag and stand. Stand! Leslie, would you mind staying back for a minute or two? I can feel some eyes on me from my fellow students, so I look down and give a nod. Sure. I hang back as the class filters out. When the last student leaves, I'm completely alone with Mr. Jonathan. I can't help but notice again how freaking big he is. How was your first day? Is that really all he wanted to talk to me about? That's kind of sweet, actually. I think I could get used to it. It can take a bit of time, but you seem like you'll find a place here in no time. I believe in you. This guy just radiates positive energy. How does he do it? Martial arts. Is that what you wanted to talk to me about, Mr. Jonathan? Partially. He goes to his desk and grabs a neatly stapled packet of papers. You live close to one of your fellow classmates. He holds the papers out to me. You didn't come to class today, so I thought you could drop these off on your way home. It'll be a great way for you to meet the last of our little class. Take the packet from him and look over the first page. It was the stuff we went over in class today. There's a sticky note at the top with an address written in it in clean, bold handwriting. Sure, that shouldn't be a problem. He smiles at me. Thank you, Leslie. He leans forward a little bit. And thank you for joining our class. I know things are a little different at UNQ Academy, but I know you're gonna do great. I incline my head in respect, since I don't trust myself not to say something stupid and potentially embarrassing. I think I blushed more today than I have in my whole life, all because of him. Sama. With the packet of homework he gave me, I followed the directions to JoJo's house. Was on the same street. Can't be that bad. What's the door? Blah blah blah, and we're gonna get to the choice of go to school early or stay behind, and that's the divergence. I was correct. I see, so if you go through Jonathan's route first, then you meet all the JoJos, because you meet Josuke first, we run into Joseph, he's the teacher, and then you have to give JoJo the homework. I suppose that it would be proper to do them in order of JoJo, but I went completely backwards. Hey, handsome, feeling lonely in this big old house? We'll just keep it polite. I'm not flirting with JoJo right now. Good evening, I'm your new classmate, Leslie. Mr. Jonathan asked me to do this. He's gonna take it. Yep. Where's the snooze button? Alright, I'm up. I sit up tiredly and look around at my clock. Oh, numbers tell me it's pretty. We're gonna get up this time. Like, I thought the campus is like a ghost town. No other soul in sight. I wonder if he's even here yet. Look at my watch. School doesn't start for another hour. Oh well, if he's not here, I'll just take a nap at my desk to pass the time. I'm not sure who jumps harder when I open the door, me or Mr. Jonathan. He bolts out from his desk, making some papers scatter. Oh, Leslie, good morning. Did I scare you? My bad. Jonathan scrambles to pick up the papers. He sets them on his desk in an untidy pile. He looks a little sheepish. I'm not used to students coming in so early. Actually, you're the first student that's come in early since I've started teaching here. Delinquents and tardiness go hand in hand, after all. I'm sorry if I was interrupting. Oh no, not at all. In all honesty, I might have just dozed off a little bit. Even Mr. Jonathan, with his seemingly endless good cheer, has a hard time staying awake in the morning. Relatable. But anyway, is there a reason you're here so early? Did you need to talk with me about something? I hadn't thought this bit through. Yeah, I'm not gonna act creepy about it, okay? Quick save complete. I thought I was on time. Spend time with you. I wanted to report on yesterday's mission. Jonathan blinks before breaking into a grin. Yesterday's mission, huh? With Jotaro? Yes, sir. It went, well, as good as you can expect, but I delivered the papers. That's great to hear. And it's very considerate of you to come to school early to let me know. His eyes take on a knowing gleam. Is that all you wanted to tell me? An hour's quite a lot of time for you to deliver a few sentences. My salute shrivels and I drop my hand back to my side. Nope, that was all I wanted to say. I guess I got a little over-eager and kind of highballed the time I should get here. That makes him laugh. At the very least, I appreciate your enthusiasm. Both go quiet. I shuffle on my feet. What the hell am I supposed to do now? Well, with lack of my own words, it seems my stomach decides to step in to end the silence. Jonathan scowls. Did you skip breakfast? Maybe. He puts a hand on his hips. I know I'm in for a scolding. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You should always... Okay, so I might have accidentally skipped breakfast too. The pot calling the kettle black. Aha! Well, luckily for both of us, I brought something. It was going to be my lunch, but hey, when in Rome... Rome is in Italy. I reach into my bag and pull out an orange. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. Oh, I think I may have some more granola bars on my desk. Yeah, granola bars are amazing. I split the orange and Mr. Jonathan finds a single granola bar. He breaks it in half and gives me the larger portion. I don't need that much granola bar. He pulls up... Just a little bit of it is really enough to make me happy. He pulls up a desk next to me and we sit together as we eat. It's not the most hearty breakfast, but it's nice sharing a ragtag meal together. Thank you for breakfast, Leslie. Back at you. He smiles and I notice a bit of granola bar clinging to his face right at the corner of his mouth. Oh boy, that's cute. I'm not I don't know. I say I'm going the teacher route, but I'm still, like, that's still so weird. I'm just gonna point it out to him. You've got something. I motion to the corner of my lips and he blushes before wiping his mouth. Thank you, Leslie. I can be a bit of a messy eater sometimes. No problem. This guy's a bit of a mess all around. Sleeping at school, constantly playing catch-up with grading papers, and now, evidently, his eating habits. It kinda adds charm, though. Stands up from the desk and scoots it back to its proper place. I've got a bit of work to do before class starts. Yeah, of course. I'm gonna get a little reading in. He settles down at his desk and I pull out my book. Now Now where did I leave off? Class yet again. As dull as it should be to hear the same thing again, I find that I've got plenty to keep my mind occupied. I had noticed it the day before, but it's still just as enrapturing to watch Mr. Jonathan teach. The way he gesticulates with his hands, and the way his eyes light up with passion. He's definitely a standout guy. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't moved by his tenacity. You see, that's the word, not tenaciousness. I'm looking at you, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Phantom Blood dub. He's got one hell of a bright future in front of him. I just hope that these punks don't break his spirit before then. Mile. I sit up and turn my alarm clock off before stretching. I never thought I'd see the day when I get up so early without a fuss, but I've been doing it without a problem for the past month. After a shower, I pack breakfast and head out to school. Good morning, Leslie. Morning, Mr. Jonathan. You got the goods? Jonathan looks around in mock paranoia. Depends, do you have your end of the bargain? I pull a bento from my backpack and show it to him. Let's do this trade, no funny business. Jonathan grabs something on his desk and holds it out slowly as I extend the breakfast. At this point, we both can't hold back smiles. 1, 2, 3! We switch our items and Jonathan laughs. He grabs his shirt collar and leads his mouth towards it like he's talking into a small microphone. Men, you can stand down. I repeat, stand down. I look at the book in my hand. Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. I've heard of the author before, but not of the book. So this is your recommendation for this week? Jonathan has popped the lid off of the container and is looking happily at its contents. It's a series. I'll let you borrow the next one when you finish. Have you ever read Baccano? It's not a classic, but it's a classic to me. We should do book trades. We both take a seat and pull out a I pull out a matching bento. I've learned that Mr. Jonathan has an appetite as big as himself, so mine doesn't have as much as his. He sighs happily with a mouthful before swallowing. You're really spoiling me with breakfast every morning, Leslie. What can I say? I really like cooking. I'm okay with cooking. Well, that's not entirely true. I only took up the hobby since finding out what a foodie Jonathan is. I'll be the first to admit that what I put out isn't the most high-quality cuisine, but hearing Jonathan hum happily as he wolfs down what I put in front of him is an amazing feeling. I tap the book with my finger. So this book, what's it about? He covers his mouth politely as he chews and swallows. A young man caught in extraordinary circumstances. What kind of circumstances? Extraordinary ones. Smartass. He winks. There's loads of supernatural elements if that sweetens the pot. With a newfound interest, I look at the cover. You know my tastes too well, Mr. Jonathan. It's the only way I know how to repay you for your delicious food. Our conversation is cut off as the door opens. What could it be at this hour? Class doesn't start for at least another 40 minutes. Speculation. I knew it's the damn principal! Jonathan bolts up from his desk, nearly knocking his chair over. Oh, what do we have here? You! I don't know why Jonathan reacted so strongly to this man's presence. Was he in trouble? He gestures to me. The man comes over to our joined desks and peers at our breakfast coolly, eating mediocre food and chatting instead of working. Whoa there, asshole! It might be mediocre, but you don't have to say it! My lesson plan's already done for the day, Dio. The man, Dio, arches an eyebrow. What about the next day's plan? The next week's? And he reaches over and boops Jonathan on the nose with a manicured nail. And it's Principal Brando during school hours, you know that. So this guy is the principal. What a snooty bastard. Jonathan rubs the tip of his nose like he's getting rid of a smudge of dirt. Principal Brando. To what do I owe the pleasant surprise of a visit? The atmosphere is thick enough to cut with a knife. A very dull knife. I hope my little morning meetings with Jonathan aren't gonna get him into trouble. I was just stopping by to make sure you received my memo. His piercing gaze lands on me and I straighten up as I'm scrutinized. I hope you two aren't doing anything inappropriate. Jonathan gasps, obviously scandalized before he can say anything, though Dio cuts him off. Not that I care either way. As long as your job isn't neglected, you can flirt your little heart out. My mouth drops. Just what is he insinuating? Check your email, JoJo. He leaves Jonathan standing in the middle of the room slack-jawed. He blinks and closes his mouth, a blush ghosting his cheeks. I'm sorry about that. Principal Brando, I shake my head, still in shock. You have nothing to be sorry about. I guess I've been kind of impeding on your mornings. You listen to me, Leslie. You aren't impeding at all. Spending my mornings with you has been wonderful. If anything, I've gotten a bit selfish with it, expecting you to wake up early and come visit me. It's not selfish if you aren't telling me to do it. Besides, I'm doing it because I like spending time with you. The words leave my mouth before I can even think. Uh-oh. Jonathan is shocked. I'm shocked. Wow, I can't believe I just came out and said that. I'm pretty sure my cheeks are glowing. I don't know why you like spending time with an old man like me, but I like spending time with you too, Leslie. My mouth flaps like a fish out of water as I try to respond. I swallow hard and decide to bypass the compliment and change the subject somewhat. Old man, you don't seem that old to me. I might not be physically old, but I know my tastes are a bit dated for a 23-year-old. Hey, he's 23. Jonathan laughs. Can you even be a high school teacher at 23? Maybe. I mean, if you're a genius, which we can assume Jonathan is, I know I can be a bit boring. There's nothing wrong with being boring. I don't think you're boring. We're only 5 years apart! I'm not gonna be that excited yet. He laughs. I promise I'm not fishing for your sympathy. I know my life revolves around school and my students, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in life. I'm happy. We both fall silent. I think it's time for me to change the subject again. So the principal, you guys seem close. For some reason, Jonathan looks a little sad. I never really considered us close, as much as I'd like us to be. But yes, Principal Brando is my brother. Huh, I never would have guessed. With that hoity-toity way Dio acted around Jonathan, I can't imagine them growing up together. Their personalities are so different. I'm sure there was a lot of friction between them in their youth. But speaking of Dio, I need to check the memo he sent. He takes a seat at the desk and I start cleaning up our breakfast as he clicks his mouse and clacks his keyboard. The desks are back in order and our bentos are packed in my bag when Jonathan gives a gasp. What is it? He stands from his desk, grinning from ear to ear. The memo wasn't what I was expecting at all. It's clear he's excited, and I have to admit I'm starting to get excited too. Well, what's the news? He bounces on his heels and sucks in his lips as if he's trying to hold the words in. Should I tell you or wait to find out with the other students? Ah, what a tease. He wants to tell me as much as I want to know. Tell me, tell me! Jonathan manages to keep his silence for all but a second before he lets the secret out in a gust of breath. Class trip to the beach! I don't know what I was expecting, and even though it sounds fun, I don't think it's all that surprising. But Jonathan is obviously pumped about it, and I can't help but match his enthusiasm. Oh wow, right? He laughs happily. This will be my first class trip with my students. They're gonna be so excited. He's precious! I'm not really one for class trips, and in any other circumstance I wouldn't go, but I'm really looking forward to it. The door opens, and then 2 students walk in, looking groggy and ready for a day of learning. Jonathan and I smile at each other before we fall into our teacher-student roles again. Finally! Okay, so we're going to the beach again. I'll play through it, let's just see what happens. The train ride had been uneventful, with Jonathan going over general rules and stuff as students clad in swimwear looked out over the windows and chatted with each other. I had wanted to sit by Jonathan, but Josuke and Caesar had gotten to me first. You mean Joseph, right? Because last I checked, Josuke didn't have great grades and he has to stay home. I was a little annoyed at first, but even still, I was having fun talking and laughing with them. Oh wait, no, in Joseph's route, we mess around with Josuke anyway. So what, Josuke's only a bad student when I'm actively being friends with him? I guess it's for the best. What Dio said has been sticking in the back of my mind. I hope you two aren't doing anything inappropriate. Not at all. I could definitely make more active moves, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to make Jonathan awkward. I think he doesn't deserve that. I think it's been bothering Jonathan too. We still have our morning meetings, but we've both been more subdued now. Does that mean what we had going before what we'd been doing was flirting? It didn't feel like that. Our banter had always felt natural and lighthearted. What was so wrong with that? Alright class, if you get in the water, don't go too deep. Make sure you have somebody with you. Make sure to stay safe and have fun. There's a few cheers and everyone disperses into little groups along the shoreline. I'm left standing with Jonathan. Are you gonna swim? Nah, it's not really my thing. Me neither. I look over his outfit. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of looking forward to seeing Jonathan in some shorts. Having his shirt off would be hoping for too much, but shorts seemed like a reasonable expectation. He's still in his normal everyday clothes, though. You gonna change? Jonathan looks down at himself and frowns. I hadn't planned on it, but I guess my outfit's a bit stiff for beach outing. Just a little. Jonathan puckers his lips in thought. He grabs his shirt He grabs his shirt and pulls it from his pants. Better? His shirt's not tucked in. It's getting there. He opens the top button of his shirt. How about now? Now we're talking! We both share a laugh and look out to the water as we sober up. So what do you have planned for today? I sling my bag over my shoulders and rifle through it briefly. I pull out the book Jonathan had given me earlier that week. Oh, so that... I'm not going to ask about timelines. I'm going to continue to unravel the adventures of Odd Thomas while basking in the sun. Jonathan nods to his bag on the ground. I had the same idea. Sunshine and reading are a great combination, don't you think? We both busy ourselves setting up our spot. I had brought 2 beach towels, but Jonathan trumped me and brought 2 foldable reclining chairs. It seems we both had the intentions of spending the trip together. Ooh. And I think about Mr. Asshole Principal again. Jonathan seemed to notice my expression growing gloomy. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be swearing outside of just reading the dialogue, but still. Is everything alright? I force a cheery smile. Yeah, I was just zoning out a bit. He hums suspiciously, but doesn't press the matter. I have to fight the wind a bit, but I get the umbrella open and planted in the sand between our chairs. Perfect. I look down at our little spot and think about his sentiment. This really is perfect. Good book, a good spot, good friend, what could be better than this? Makes me feel kinda guilty. There it is again, that face. Huh? You keep pulling a really sad face. It's nothing, really. Jonathan looks at me with those kind eyes and it makes me feel worse. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I'd like to consider us friends. I consider us friends too. Friends tell each other when something is bothering them, right? I'm not saying you have to, but if I don't like... I'm not saying you have to, but if I don't like seeing you look so... sad... So if you need to talk to me... I don't like seeing you look so sad. So if you need to talk to me, I'm here to lend an ear. Ugh, the situation is such a mess, and it's all because I overthink things too much. I take a deep breath. Why is it bothering me so much anyways? If there wasn't some thread of truth to it, I'd be able to shrug it off without a problem. The fact of the matter was I did feel something for Jonathan. I think anyone in their right mind would feel something for him. He's a wonderful guy. It's not a crush, exactly, but I can tell that if we're going to keep on like we have, it will definitely grow into one, and that could be a real disaster. For my feelings, if he doesn't feel the same way, or for his career if he does, it's a real lose-lose situation. Jonathan has been waiting patiently for me to speak, and I decided to tell him what's eating at me. It's about the principal. Oh. Is it what he said the other month? Yeah. Jonathan is silent for a long moment. I haven't made you uncomfortable, have I? No, it's nothing like that. God, I should have kept my mouth shut. This is just too awkward. It's just, I don't want you to get in trouble or have people talking because I'm always bothering you, you know? There's so much wrong with what you just said. He puts his hand and counts them off. What we're doing is not so wrong, so I won't get in trouble. If people start talking, we both know it's completely fictitious, and you definitely aren't bothering me. Oh, this might be... I'm not sure if I like this strat of JoJo is better. Dio likes to say things like that to get under my skin, so I'm used to him making remarks along these lines. I didn't stop to consider that his words might have affected you. I apologize. You don't have to apologize. I guess I was just thinking too much into it. My mind can be rather overactive at times, too, so I understand. He gestures to the chair. Shall we? We settle down with our books. I feel a lot better now that we've talked it out. My shoulders definitely feel a lot lighter. He's so cute! I read a few pages. The story's in the thick of it, but I'm having a hard time keeping my eyes on my words and keep wandering over to Jonathan. The art style for Jonathan is distinctly different than the art style for the others. He looks so relaxed and happy. And beautiful, but that's beside the point. Jonathan smiles at me. What? Oops, busted. I look pointedly down at my book. Nothing. You keep on staring. Do I have something else on my face? Nah, it's nothing like that. I'm just... admiring the view. Actually, you do have something on your face. I'm really happy. Jonathan takes a big breath in and lets it out with a content hum. I know how you feel. I can't remember ever feeling so at ease. Well, with Dio as a brother, how can you ever feel at ease? It's a nice feeling, it really is. I'm quiet for a few moments, eternally debating if I should say what's on the tip of my tongue. What the hell, I might as well. Spending time with you always makes me feel at ease. I guess it's just the effect you have on people. Jonathan lets out a joyful bubble of laughter. You can't say that it's my effect because I feel the same way about you. No, I'm sweating. I blame the sun. Obviously it's the sun, right? Jonathan gives me a smile before going back to his book. I turn back to my own story, and I'm more mindful to keep my eyes to myself. I'm nearly dozing when Jonathan stands up and stretches. I should probably check on all my students and make sure they aren't poking at sharks or eating sand. I'm trying to think of who's most likely to be poking at sharks right now. Yeah, that sounds like things some of them would do. Jonathan laughs and gives me away before heading down to the beach. I watch him go, a smile plastered on my face. He makes me happy. I lean back in my chair and read a bit more. I've read about 10 pages and Jonathan still hasn't returned. I cover my brow with my hand and squint as I look along the shoreline. It doesn't take too long to spot him. He's quite a ways down at the beach with Joseph and Caesar. There's a net between the boys and him, and as I watch, Joseph spikes a volleyball over it. Jonathan is damn near a blur as he ducks to bop it into the air with a quick save. Caesar is quick to return it just as fast. The three of them are insane to watch. The energy is non-stop and the hits are relentless. Joseph takes a killer dive and that kicks up a blast of sand. Ouch! I close my book. With them going at it like Olympians, I know I won't get any of my reading done. As the exchange continues, a few students gather around and cheer from different sides. I stay in my chair, but I can't help but give a little fist bump every time Jonathan scores. I mean, I can imagine this would be highly entertaining. The game goes on for a while with both sides covered in sand and breathing heavily. In the end, Jonathan's courtside has the most cheering fans, and his score is bloated well beyond Joseph and Caesar's. I can hear the exact words that are being said, but Joseph's spirited tone floated to me on the ocean breeze. I can't hear it. Watching their body language, I can see the game is being called, but Joseph doesn't want to quit until his team pulls ahead. Give it up, buddy. Jonathan is a powerhouse and won't be taken down that easily. Jonathan raises his voice and says something to the students, but I can't hear it. Judging by the responding slumped shoulders and the way the crowd dissipates along the beach to pick up their belongings, I'd say it was time to go home. I get up from my chair and start packing our things. I'm nearly done when Jonathan makes his way over. Oh, thank you for getting everything together, Leslie. No problem. I pull out a bottle of water and toss it to him. That was an impressive game. Jonathan twists the cap off and nearly downs the whole bottle in a few deep gulps. He wipes his mouth and smiles. You were watching? It was hard not to. You totally kicked their butts. Yeah, I kinda did, didn't I? Gosh, I'm going to be sore tomorrow, though. I haven't moved like that since my rugby days in college. Jonathan used to play rugby? With a body like that, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. You really shouldn't. Make sure to take a nice hot bath tonight to keep your muscles loose. That sounds nice right about now. Speaking of going home, he lifts his bag onto his shoulder. Time to wrangle up the rascals and catch the train. I follow suit and pick up my things. As much as I love the beach, I'm not looking forward to tracking all this sand into my house. I'm about to turn back to the road, then Jonathan stops me with a gentle touch to my shoulder. Leslie? The casual, timid touch makes my heart sputter. Thank you for joining our class. I had a lot of fun with you today. I had a lot of fun too. He takes off down the beach to collect his class. My throat feels tight and my hands are sweating like crazy. I don't know why, but Jonathan makes me feel nervous in the best way. Ooh, sports field. We'll save that for later. We will save that for later. But for now, I think we've got it going good. Again, apologies for the, off-script swearing, but, you know, sometimes Dio just makes you feel a certain way that makes you want to swear out loud. Thank you everybody for watching, hope to see you in the next video, and that's gonna be it for now. The further adventures of Leslie courting Joestar's will continue. Until then, ciao!